Welcome back to the 100 Club. This is cricket's newest fan community, designed and aimed squarely at the newest tournament on the block, that is the 100, coming to grounds around the UK from the 21st of July. That's just, a couple of weeks away now. Joined to discuss it by Oli and Rich.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you guys doing? Yeah, good to see you, Oli. You weren't able to join us for our live stream last Friday for the Vitality Wildcard draft. Did you catch it?
Yeah, I caught the show, so I watched you guys live. Thought you did a good job. Added a bit more excitement and razzmatazz than the official announcement. I think when we talked about it in advance, we sort of expected them to sort of drum roll out each pick, but they just shoveled them all out in one go. Bang! There they are.
There you are. Eat that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you're very kind. I think in your words. I think that delivery. Of here's 8 names. Kind of. I don't know if I hid my anger very well. But we kept it together, I hope. And so, thank you for joining us for that in retrospect. And if you still want to catch it, well, it's still on the channel, so do have a look if you didn't get it. We're back into profiles now, though, and we're going to go with a couple of teams this week. Birmingham Phoenix first, I think, and then the Oval Invincibles. So I'm going to start with the Phoenix women on this edition. So it's... I think there's lots to talk about this team, and I'm going to start with a star player. And when you have a team that features perhaps the world's greatest women's cricketer, you might be surprised when I decline to talk about Ellyse Perry as the star player. Yeah, well, maybe. But I'm sure we'll come back to her in a minute. But I actually wanted to talk about Shefali Verma. The Indian superstar. I know you've caught quite a bit of her, Rich, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been watching her in the series against England at the minute. She did really well in the tests, 2 half centuries, a 96 and a 60 odd in the second dig. Hasn't gone quite so well in the one days, but she's got the 2020 still to come, and obviously massively talented.
Yeah, I mean, 17 years old, the youngest ever India player, either female or male, to represent the country in all 3 formats now, having made a debut, I think, 15 for the T20s, and that test match that you just referred to there being the final format. Already, clearly prodigiously talented, averaging 29.38 in the T20 international game, with a strike rate of 148. That is notably a step above most of her competition already. Those who've been playing for 10 plus years. So she's played in the World Cup, did very well there, and I think what I really like about her is the technique. She's strong all around the ground, but in the T20 game in particular, what she has is a fantastic lofted drive, particularly on the offside over the covers, but also straight, and occasionally if straight down the leg, but into the front of square on the leg side as well. But it's a really classy act. And what I've seen when you saw her playing in the tests, a lot of her shots were being played late, English conditions, letting it come to her and putting it through the third man region. But in the T20 games, absolutely got the power to go over the top. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that at Edgbaston this year. What have you seen of Oli?
Yeah, and she just looks like the real deal. I mean, I think we sort of heard the name sort of being bandied around. And you kind of wonder, is she actually gonna? Is it just hype? But you see her play, she just looks like a quality cricketer. Sometimes players just have a little bit more. Seem like they have a little bit more time than everybody else, and it feels like she's in that bracket.
I think in terms of international records, the question for me is, can India get her enough games? So the test against England was their first test since 2014. If they're playing regular test cricket, then I think she could break every record. And I think similar in the T20 internationals, she's got enough talent to do it. Yeah.
Well, we've just seen Mithali Raj taking the leading run scoring total over the weekend in the game against England, the third ODI. It wouldn't surprise me in 10 years we were saying the same about Verma, just taking those records. And she's changing the game already as well. Comes from a very conservative state, Haryana, in northern India, which hasn't got a great record in sort of bringing women through into the game. So absolutely changing the face of Indian cricket right now.
Absolutely.
So, taking a 17-year-old player, have I left you a young star, Rich, to talk about?
You have, and I think it comes back to changing the game as well.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk about a 19-year-old Issy Wong, who is with Warwickshire and the Central Sparks at the minute. Now, in some of the earlier videos, we talked quite a bit about pace in the women's game. I know it's something that you always like to see in your side, Ollie, various pace options. But one thing that's interesting about women's cricket is that a lot of the top women's players, not necessarily all, but have come through age group cricket playing with men or with boys. And a lot still play club cricket in the men's leagues. Now, that means that they're facing bowling that tends to be a bit quicker than what they would face in the women's game, where even people who we describe as fast bowlers, so the likes of Catherine Brunt or Anya Shrubsole, are bowling sort of averaging high 60s, 70 miles an hour. Now, Issy Wong is part of a new breed of young female fast bowlers who are actually challenging that, and she's bowling well into the 70s at the minute. No woman in the speed gun era has gone above 80 miles per hour, but a lot of keen watchers of the game have said that if anyone's likely to do it, it could be Issy Wong. So she's fast bowler, 19 years old. She hasn't played internationally yet. She's been on several tours. Most recently, she went to New Zealand with the England squad, for experience. So they clearly see something in her. But for the moment, just doing it domestically, having a reasonable season so far in the Charlotte Edwards Cup, 0 for 19 against the Vipers, 1 for 17 yesterday against the South East Stars. But really one to watch in terms of a genuine pace threat in the women's game.
Yeah, I think that's exciting because I think there's sort of been an evolution to sort of the men's, sort of short format cricket where, for a while, sort of, out and out pace went out of fashion a little bit. It was just sort of, everyone was military mediums. It was about control. And actually, I think kind of now there's been a bit of a sort of revival of actually, a bit of genuine pace and sometimes, really putting batters under pressure. With some quick stuff, it's kind of back in vogue again. And I think it would be good for the evolution of the women's game if that kind of, let's have some genuine quicks.
Agree.
Yeah,
it's what you want to see sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Some aggressive, domineering bowling. Absolutely. It's not her only talent, though, is it, Rich? I think I saw something else.
Oh yeah, she's got her Rubik's Cube time down to I think 16 seconds, which is pretty impressive. No, she's a smart woman as well. I think she's 2 A stars and 2 A's at A level, and has the academia to back up the sport. So,
is it a stupid point? If you can do a Rubik's Cube really quickly, your fingers are good. So maybe there's a change up in there. You could turn it over really nicely and get some movement off the seam. I don't know.
Turned it square,
at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Good luck to the others if that's the case. Who's the coach bringing this lot together then, Rich? Ollie, sorry.
So Ben Sawyer, who's had a lot of success out in the Women's Big Bash. So he's been at the helm of the Sydney Sixers. I think 4 seasons. He's got them through to 4 finals. They've won 2 of them. So he clearly knows how to put together a winning side, and he's been involved with the Australian women's side as well. And I think Ellyse Perry was gone on record to say that actually he's been a big part of that successful side, and contributed a lot to that winning team. So should be a good should bring a lot of experience to the setup.
Yeah, very good coach.
And if Ellyse Perry is singing your praises, then you think you're onto a good thing. I mean, you're playing chairman of selectors for today's lineup game, and I presume, Rich, I have your support in putting Ellyse Perry at the top of the order.
I had her coming in at 3, so I was opening up with the England wicket-keeper batter Amy Jones.
Okay,
that was my shout.
Okay, but with Verma then?
I think we can all agree that Shefali Verma gets to open.
Yeah, okay. So after the disappointment of my prediction there immediately, okay, I'll agree with Verma. I had Ellyse Perry coming in at the top actually.
So what's your rationale for batting Perry at 3 then, Rich?
I just like Amy Jones as an opener, and I think that Perry's played quite a lot of cricket at 3 for Australia, so maybe she's just a bit more comfortable coming in at 1 drop rather than opening up. But it's whatever the coach wants her to do. But I quite like the idea of Amy Jones being given the opening slot.
Where did you have Jones batting then, Tom?
I had her at 3, so I mean it's the same fun. It's the same front 3. We're playing with the order here.
Yeah.
So depending on what happens with the first ball, we could get either of those permutations quite quickly.
Well, it's probably Verma taking the first ball, surely. I don't know.
Yeah.
Which actually is that. No, hang on. No, sorry, I'm getting myself confused. They first play on the Friday the 23rd, isn't it?
Yes.
So it'll only be this. No, I'm going to confuse myself. It would be the third number 1 ball of the 100 women's competition.
Right.
Anyway, let's leave that.
That's a very niche stat. Okay, I think let's go with it as you've got it on screen.
Okay.
Sometimes we get drawn into putting all these overseas stars at the top. So let's give the English opener first dibs.
Okay. I then went with Georgia Elwiss as the number 4 for myself, with the idea, all format batter for England. I think, the talent is definitely there, but I'd like to see her boost her T20 numbers somewhat at the moment. I think she's batting at less than 10, I think, in the T20 internationals at the moment. So I think this is a good opportunity to prove a bit more. I don't know about you, Rich.
Yeah, I think she has got a bit of a point to prove. I had her at 5 behind Erin Burns, the Australian, very experienced player. But 4-5, 5-4, I think it's sort of kind of much of a muchness. Maybe we differed a little bit in the middle order.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I had Burns down at 7 because I got 5 and 6, Marie Kelly and Thea Brooks. So Kelly, the Warwickshire captain, I think is having a decent season. Actually, in Division 1 in 2019 was the leading run scorer in the competition, and also had some right hand medium fast bowling as well at a decent average. And then Thea Brooks is has actually been around a few of the teams with the Lightning, the Diamonds, Vipers and Sparks. But again, bats at around 27 on her averages, with again a few right hand off breaks. So they were in the mix around here. But I don't know, Ollie, what do you think? So.
Well, is that you want someone who's going to either anchor you chase, and get you over the line. So maybe you're looking at. Just Kelly in there.
So rather than Brooks, I went with Evelyn Jones, who's also one of the centrally contracted players on the Central Sparks. Kelly and Jones open the batting in the T20 tournament at the minute, and so in reasonable form, although the Sparks haven't had the greatest start to the season. My rationale was that I think that Ellyse Perry's going to bowl, Erin Burns is going to bowl, Elwiss can turn her arm over as well, and then I've got my 4 specialist bowls at the end. That's enough bowling options. So therefore, that's why I wanted to pad the batting a bit at 6 and 7.
Okay, well I'll leave them up for now. Have a think on that, Ollie.
Yeah.
I suppose on the bowling attack.
See who bowling options are.
Yeah, well, I wanted something a bit different, and Abtar Maksud is quite a floaty leg spinner who I think could do something quite useful. Plays for Scotland, and doing reasonably well actually, getting 23 wickets I think in 18 international games so far, at a decent economy. We've talked about Isabel Wong. It's got to be in there somewhere, and I had then Kirsty Gordon, left-hand orthodox spinner, and then an Emily Arlott as well, who's a right-arm seamer in there to round it out. I don't know about you, Rich.
I agree with that. I like the idea of Maskood as a leg spinner, a bit different. Otherwise you've got a lot of sort of right-arm medium, right-arm off. Obviously you've got Gordon as the left-armer, but I thought let's throw a leggy in there, a bit of variety. I had her batting down at 11. I had the order as Gordon at 8, because I think she's fairly useful with the bat. Then Arlott and Wong, the opening bowlers for the Sparks at the minute. They both, I think Arlott tends to bat a bit higher than Wong, but they can argue over that one. And then Maskood at 11. So I think really what our argument is Jones versus Brooks in the middle order. I
think right. It feels like you kind of want to be making that selection on the basis of the batting. I think because I think you've got quite a lot of bowling options now. So I guess it's whoever's looking good in the nets and is looking like they're in form.
I'm happy to stand out. I mean, I think Thea Brooks would be pretty upset. She's averaging 27 and has scored over 1,500 runs in 79 games. But I get the Jones point, because if you're opening up with Marie Kelly, then that partnership is a good one. That makes sense as well. So I'm happy to stand down on it.
Well, I guess if anyone's not looking like they're in nick, then Brooks is kind of first in the queue to get back in.
Yeah, maybe.
Good to have a bit of pressure.
Yeah,
batsmen know they need to perform because there's someone waiting in the wings.
Absolutely.
Basis of a good batting lineup is making sure that everyone knows they need to get a few.
Yeah, they've got some useful options then in the backup batting. Rhea Thakral and Phoebe Franklin, both young right-handers. Can put some pressure on Jones and Kelly if they're not in the runs. They got a backup keeper in Gwennon Davis behind Amy Jones.
Yeah, Gwennon Davis, decent with the bat as well, averages over 20. So you're not going to probably take her in the team when you've got Amy Jones as your keeper. I get that, but definitely a good option if that's required.
Yeah. So how do we feel about this team, guys?
I think that's really strong.
I was going to make the observation. So the women didn't do a sort of conventional draft in the way that the men did, and obviously the player pool has changed massively. If you imagine all the players announced in the tournament as of now, as of we know last Friday they're going to play, imagine you had that player pool and you had the first 2 picks. I would say with my first pick, I would either be picking Shefali Verma or Ellyse Perry, and they're both in the same team.
Yeah.
So really strong team, and Elwiss, Burns, Amy Jones as well. Just look at that top 5 and think that that's as strong a batting lineup as I've seen.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about Erin Burns a lot, but she might be actually quite an interesting one to focus on, because she's quite a late bloomer in cricketing terms, certainly in women's cricketing terms. Sort of broke into the Aussie T20 squad, I think, a couple of years ago, and she's 33 now. The numbers aren't that great, but if you don't make it into that team unless you've got talent. So I'll be interested to see what she does.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think slightly more powerful batting lineup than bowling lineup, perhaps, just in terms of experience?
Yes, in terms of experience, definitely.
Maybe that's just because it's a very good batting lineup. It sort of makes it look that way. I don't know. I think this looks like a side that should be looking to getting into the eliminator and beyond.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like the balance of that bowling lineup at the back end there. Wong and Arlott, 2 opening bowlers, for the Sparks at the minute. As I said in the intro bit, Wong, genuine, quick, got all the experience of Perry, the useful bowling of Elwiss as well. Bit of variety from Gordon and Maskood. Quite a strong Scottish element there, I guess, with Gordon and Maskood.
Yeah, well, Gordon had to ditch Scotland in order to join. I think it was the Loughborough Lightning. Had to change allegiance to England, and they've changed the rules subsequently, but she can't change back now.
Well, you're obviously not. That'll be welcome back, I imagine, after that.
No, that's it. The wall's gone up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty decent. So I think, Ollie, are you happy with it?
Yeah, I think that looks like a good 11.
Okay. So Jones, Verma, Perry, Elwiss, Burns, Kelly, Jones, Gordon, Wong, Arlott, Maksud, with some good stuff coming through in the competitive stakes. One question I suppose we could ask is how they brought that team together. We could ask that about a lot of the teams, and actually potentially some exciting news later this week where we're going to have some involvement from the people who put the Birmingham Phoenix squads together. Rich, is that right?
Yeah, so we'll be chatting to their data insights manager later next week.
Yeah. So we'll put that on the channel as soon as it's up. But he's going to give us some insight into how they pulled the draft together. I'm not 100% sure whether he's done the women's and the men's side. It's certainly done the men's side though. But if you want to get an insight into how you make a modern cricketing franchise come together and what the stats tell us versus our fan punditry, then that might be quite a good one. You've done a decent job though, Ollie, I think.
Well, see how my selections compare to his. You can come on and trash what I've just said.
Yeah. Well, you treat yourself to a cup of tea. Everyone else, thank you very much for joining us for this squad profile. We'll be back with the men very soon. And until then, if you'd like to make a comment on what we've managed to do, if you'd like to give us a subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. We'll be back here on the 100 Club. Rich, Ollie, thank you.
Bye.